You may be destroying your reputation without even realizing it. Let me tell you a story. I spent years of my life thinking I was doing everything right. I worked hard, I dedicated myself, I tried to be a good person, but something was wrong. People didn't take me as seriously as I wanted. They didn't invite me to certain opportunities, and I didn't understand why. Until one day, studying Stoicism, I had a brutal epiphany. Marcus Aurelius wrote something that completely changed my perspective. Stop wasting time discussing what a good man should be like. Be one. And that's when I realized I was focused on the words, not the actions. And worse, there were patterns of behavior that I repeated every day, completely invisible to me, but glaring to everyone around me. Today, I'm going to share with you the 4 toxic habits that I discovered I was practicing, and that you probably are too. Habits that silently destroy the respect people have for you. And the worst part? You don't even realize you're doing it. Before continuing, I want to give a special thank you. This channel exists because of you. Every comment, every like, every time you share a video, it truly motivates me to continue producing this content with even more depth and intention. Seeing this community grow, reflect, and transform is what drives me. So, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for walking with me on this journey of self-knowledge and daily evolution. When respect disappears, it's rarely by chance. It's the result of small actions or omissions that over time accumulate a silent cost. Seneca said that the greatest sign of wisdom is to observe oneself honestly. And that's exactly what we're going to do here today. Look inward, without masks, without excuses. I'm going to identify 4 habits that seem small, but have the power to erode your image, and even worse, your self-confidence. Throughout my life, I've made all these mistakes, and only when I started applying Stoic principles to my daily life did I begin to see real changes. More respect, more balance, more clarity in my relationships. So, if you're ready for this reflection, grab your coffee, get comfortable, because what comes next might be uncomfortable, but also liberating. The first behavior that destroys respect is perhaps the most common and most underestimated: gossiping. Yes, gossip seems harmless, almost like a casual conversation, a social bond, an innocent distraction in the middle of the routine. But here's the raw truth. Whoever gossips with you will gossip about you. And when you engage in this game, even without malicious intent, you send a powerful and negative message. I am not trustworthy. I can't keep secrets. I feed off the failures of others. Let me tell you about a phase of my life, back in college. Gossip seemed to be part of the atmosphere. Conversations revolved around other people's lives. It was almost a collective pastime, analyzing who was dating whom, laughing at personal choices, speculating about situations. I had a classmate, let's call her Sarah, who was the most reserved of the group. One day, it leaked among the class that she was interested in a guy from our class. In a short time, this intimate detail spread and became a joke. And Sarah, she simply shut down completely. The way she silently distanced herself left a mark on everyone who witnessed it. That's when I realized gossip is never just a casual conversation. It always leaves a scar on someone. The Stoics, especially Epictetus, warned against this. If you hear something, don't repeat it. If it doesn't concern you, don't talk about it. Don't listen. Gossip diminishes you. And the people around you notice. Even if they remain silent, they begin to wonder, if this person speaks like this about so-and-so, what do they say about me? Being worthy of respect begins with a daily choice, not passing on what doesn't build up. Preferring conversations that uplift, that inspire, that analyze ideas, not people. As an old proverb says, small minds discuss people, average minds discuss events, great minds discuss ideas. Choose every day which of these minds you want to be a part of. The second habit that erodes the respect of others, perhaps faster than any other, is unreliability. We live in an era where everyone promises, but few deliver. We promise to be there. We promise to help. We promise to change. But when the time comes, excuses, distractions, and silence appear.
And here's a hard truth. When your word loses value, you lose value along with it. There was a time when I thought being flexible and spontaneous was a virtue. I used to make plans and then cancel them. I'd say, I'll definitely be there, and then on the day, I'd decide to do something else, until an incident showed me what that really meant to those who trusted me. A good friend, let's call her Emily, spent weeks preparing her birthday party. She planned everything carefully, guest list, decorations, special details, and I, of course, said I'd be there, that I wouldn't miss it for the world. But on the day of the party, I got involved in another activity. Before I knew it, the party had already started. I sent a hurried message trying to justify myself. Her response was polite but cold, and that's when I felt it. It wasn't just an event I missed, it was a piece of our trust. The relationship cooled because she understood, rightly so, that my words meant little. The Stoics saw the honor of one's word as a pillar of virtue. Seneca wrote, "Nothing is more valuable than the commitment of an upright person. Their word is their contract."
Reliability isn't built on pretty promises. It's built on small, consistent actions. Arriving on time, responding as agreed, meeting deadlines, being transparent about your limits, and above all, being honest with yourself. If you know you can't do something, don't commit. If something unexpected happens, communicate respectfully and in advance. People don't expect perfection, they expect consistency. In a professional environment, a lack of reliability can be devastating. You may be talented, intelligent, even charismatic, but if you don't do what you say, you will slowly be excluded from the most serious opportunities. Because in the end, respect is born from trust, and trust is born from repeating your integrity, even in the smallest details. Sometimes, losing the respect of others doesn't happen because of big mistakes, but because of small gestures that we repeat without realizing it. One of the most silent and damaging is interrupting others while they are speaking. It seems like a trivial thing. After all, who hasn't done it? Sometimes we think we are just participating in the conversation, being dynamic, contributing, but interrupting carries a much heavier weight than it seems. Because when you interrupt, even unintentionally, you transmit an unconscious message. What I have to say is more important than what you are saying now. And this message, repeated over time, erodes respect. At the beginning of my career, I was exactly like that. Anxious, full of ideas, wanting to prove my worth. During meetings, I barely let anyone finish a sentence. If I disagreed, I interrupted. If I had a suggestion, I interrupted. If I thought I could add something, there I was, cutting off the other person's train of thought. Until one day my manager, calmly but firmly, asked to speak with me. She said something I've never forgotten. "You're always ready to speak, but rarely ready to listen." Those words hit me like a lightning bolt, because she was right. I wasn't really listening, I was just waiting for my turn to speak. And that has a name, egocentrism disguised as enthusiasm. The Stoics valued listening as a form of wisdom. Epictetus, who began his life as a slave and became one of the greatest philosophers of antiquity, taught, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, to listen more and speak less." From that moment on, I began to practice what I call Stoic listening. When I felt that urge to interrupt, I would take a deep breath and ask myself, does this really need to be said now, or can I humbly wait and listen to the end? This simple change in attitude completely transformed how people began to see me. I became someone more respected, more trustworthy, more balanced, because truly listening is a sign of strength, not passivity. If you want to gain respect, practice intentional silence. Listen attentively. Let the other person finish. Because when you learn to listen with presence, you not only understand better, you strengthen bonds and gain something rare these days, consideration.
We've all complained about traffic, our boss, the weather. Complaining seems like a release valve, an almost therapeutic venting. But when complaining becomes a habit, It stops being a relief and becomes a burden. And the worst part? A burden that you spread. Constant complaining transforms the environment around you. People start to distance themselves without knowing exactly why. And it's not because you're a bad person. It's because being around someone who constantly points out what's wrong without taking action drains energy. I lived through this cycle. There was a time when everything was a reason to complain. If it rained, I complained. If it was hot, I complained. If someone harmed me, there I was, dwelling on it for days. Until a friend with courage and sincerity told me, "Dude, it seems like nothing is ever good enough for you. Have you noticed that?" At the moment, I was defensive, but those words echoed for days, and they hurt because they were true. I had become accustomed to the role of victim, and the problem with living as a victim is that you give up your power. The Stoics teach us something fundamental. Don't complain about reality. Transform what is within your reach, accept with serenity what is not. That is the essence of Stoicism. The rain won't stop just because you complain. The traffic won't go faster because you huff and puff behind the wheel. But your attitude? That can change everything. From the moment I started observing myself and replacing complaining with action or acceptance, everything changed. If the environment was bad, I left. If something went wrong, I looked for a lesson. If there was no solution, I took a deep breath and moved on. This didn't make me a blind optimist. It made me lighter. And the people around me started to notice. Want to know if you're stuck in this cycle? Reflect. Do you talk more about problems or solutions? Do your conversations energize you or drain you? Do you have a habit of being grateful or of complaining out of habit? The mind works like a radar. She finds what you train her to find. If you nurture a negative outlook, the world seems chaotic. If you cultivate a constructive outlook, you find opportunities where there were only barriers before. Respect also stems from the vibration you carry, and nobody respects someone who is always drowning in complaints. So, from today onwards, every time you feel like complaining, ask yourself, is this under my control? If yes, act. If not, accept it. This simple question, if used with discipline, can free your mind and your energy. If you've made it this far, congratulations. This shows that you are willing to do the hardest work, looking inward, because earning the respect of others begins with something deeper, respecting yourself. Today, we talked about 4 habits that silently sabotage your image. Gossiping destroys the trust others have in you. Being unreliable undermines the value of your word. Interrupting demonstrates ego and impatience. Complaining excessively pushes people away and traps you in negativity. The good news? All of these habits can be replaced with stoic discipline, active listening, integrity, and conscious action.
Now, there's a 5th habit I need to talk to you about, and this one is especially treacherous because it often disguises itself as something positive. I'm talking about confusing confidence with arrogance. Let me explain the difference because it's subtle but devastating. Confidence is knowing your worth without needing to diminish others. Arrogance is needing to constantly prove your worth, often at the expense of those around you. I learned this the hard way. In my early 20s, I had just gotten an important promotion. I was excited, full of energy, thinking I had all the answers. And whenever someone brought up an idea different from mine, I had this compulsive need to show why my way was better. It wasn't malicious. I genuinely thought I was adding value, showing my expertise. But what I was really doing was building a wall between myself and everyone around me. There was one specific episode that marked me deeply. We were in a brainstorming meeting, and a junior colleague, let's call him Daniel, presented an idea. It wasn't perfect, it had some obvious flaws, and I, instead of helping him develop the idea, simply dismantled everything in front of everyone, pointing out every mistake, every logical flaw. I thought I was being helpful, straightforward, efficient, but what I saw on his face was something that haunted me for weeks. It wasn't just disappointment, it was humiliation. And worse, after that meeting, Daniel simply stopped contributing. His ideas dried up.
He became silent, withdrawn. Only much later did I understand. It wasn't his idea that needed to be destroyed. It was my arrogance that needed to be demolished. The Stoics had a profound concept about this. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "When you wake up in the morning, think about what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." Notice the humility in that sentence. An emperor, the most powerful man in the world at the time, began his day by acknowledging basic privileges. Seneca was even more direct. He said, "Knowledge without wisdom is like a candle in the hand of a fool. It only serves to light the way to his own destruction." The truth is that when you constantly need to prove you're right, you're revealing the exact opposite. You're insecure. True confidence is silent. It doesn't need a stage, an audience, or external validation. After that incident with Daniel, I started practicing something I call the humility pause. Every time I felt that urge to correct someone, to show that I knew more, I paused, I breathed, and I asked myself, does this need to be said? Will this build or tear? Am I adding value or feeding my ego?
90% of the time, the response was uncomfortable. I was feeding my ego. So I started to change. When someone presented a flawed idea, instead of dismantling it, I would ask, "Interesting, how do you think we could develop this?" When someone disagreed with me, instead of going into defensive mode, I would say, "Tell me more about your point of view. I want to understand." And you know what happened? People started to respect me more, not less, more. Because respect doesn't come from showing how much you know, it comes from showing how much you care. There's a phrase that completely changed my perspective. I don't know who said it, but it goes like this: people will forget what you said, they will forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. And when you act arrogantly, even if disguised as confidence, you make people feel small, and nobody, absolutely nobody, respects someone who makes them feel small. There's another behavior that destroys respect in an almost irreversible way, and curiously, it's one of the most common in professional environments. I'm talking about stealing credit, whether deliberately or by omission. And before you think, "I would never do that," let me show you how it happens in much more subtle ways than you imagine. There was a time in my career when I was leading a large project. The team worked for months, sleepless nights, sacrificed weekends, and when we finally presented the results to the board, it was an absolute success. After the presentation, the CEO congratulated me personally. He shook my hand, said it was exceptional work. And me? I smiled, thanked him, accepted the compliments. I didn't mention my team. I didn't talk about the other 3 colleagues who carried the project as much as I did, maybe even more. It wasn't a conscious decision to steal credit. It was something worse. It was a passive acceptance of credit that wasn't just mine. And believe me, that's just as destructive as actively stealing. A week later, at a team meeting, I noticed something. People were different with me, more distant, more formal. Until a colleague, Maria, asked to speak privately. She was direct but respectful. "Did you notice that in the presentation to the CEO you didn't mention any of us? We all worked as hard as you did, but it was as if the project was only yours." That hit me like a punch in the gut, because she was absolutely right. I had let my ego speak louder than my integrity. The Stoics were obsessed with the idea of justice. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do what is right. The rest doesn't matter. Cold or hot, tired or rested, despised or honored, dying or occupied with other matters." Justice for the Stoics was not just about not doing evil. It was about actively doing the right thing, even when no one is watching, even when there is no immediate reward. And giving credit is doing the right thing, always, without exception. From that moment on, I made a promise to myself. Every time someone praised me for teamwork, I would redirect the credit, not falsely or exaggeratedly, but honestly and genuinely. I started saying things like,
Thank you, but I need to make it clear, John was the one who had the initial idea. Anna was the one who solved the most complex technical problem. Pedro worked on weekends to ensure we met the deadline. I only coordinated, but the merit belongs to all of us. And you know what happened? Respect returned, stronger than before, because people realized that I wasn't trying to shine alone at their expense. I was lifting everyone up along with me.